Hey there, everybody. It's Hump Day. And you know what that means? That means it's time for me and Steve to sit around here and talk. Just chat about what's been going on. So, welcome, Steve. How you been?
Good, man. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been keeping busy, watching a lot of YouTube. Oh, hang on, I got a audio clipping here.
Uh-oh. That's not a good thing. Is it just on you or is it on me too?
No, it was on you. I just had to turn you back, but I think we should be good now.
Yeah, I guess I just had a little bit too much enthusiasm. Sorry about that.
No worries. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
That's weird because I'm not seeing any audio meter on my OBS.
Okay.
Let me just listen into the stream, see. Be good now.
Yeah, hang on a second.
Yeah, I can hear it on the stream, so I guess it's working.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah. I just heard it too. So with that, hey, let's not worry about the tech stuff or whatever as far as the tech issues. Let's talk about the issues of the day, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, holy shit! I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. So the last time we talked, the whole storming of the Capitol and stuff like that all happened, and now here we are 2 weeks later, and I don't know about you, but after what I watched today, politically and everything else, I don't know. I actually feel positive and like there's just a little glimmer of hope for the first time in a really long time, even though it's not my country or anything like that. But just for the fact that it just felt like some of that negativity just kind of faded into the background finally.
Yeah, there's. I would agree. It's definitely a shimmer of hope on the horizon. That's for sure. I mean, they got their job cut out for them, right? They're definitely not going to have it easy. That's a given.
Yeah. Yeah, a great inauguration speech is one thing, but being able to act on that within 4 years to, kind of bring the nation back to, its greatness, I guess, depending on who you ask, I guess. But yeah, like, I don't envy their position. That's for sure. They got a lot to do. And really, when you look at it as far as what they have to do, 4 years is not very long. That's for sure.
No, it's not.
And but he certainly got the ball rolling and stuff like that, as far as just having a whole bunch of stuff that he was executing today, as far as like, things that he put in place, like ready to go as soon as he was basically put into power, from, stimulus packages for people to, looking at the immigration reforms and stuff like that, to like just so many things. I mean, one of the things that affects us in Canada, of course, is that's been dominating our headlines a bit, is that he's planning on scrapping the Keystone pipeline, which is kind of interesting. So haven't heard too much about that, other than that it's just been a mention. So I don't know if there's actually going to be any debate around it or anything like that.
No, I think that's a done deal. They've already committed to scrapping it.
It's kind of interesting because, as much as they want to scrap it, this is a project that's already been in the works for quite some time, like well before the Trump administration. This was still during Obama's administration.
Yeah.
So, to just plain out say, no, we're just not going to do it. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it requires a bit more, debate or
I'm sure it's not that black and white, right? I'm sure they'll have to they'll have to figure out something else to work around it, but yeah, generally speaking, from what I understand, that's a done deal.
Yeah, very, very surprising, but some of the positive things, like I mentioned, the stimulus package. But one of the other things that I think I saw in the news as well, reading about the different executive orders that he's bringing in, was basically like an order of some sort to basically halt on people being evicted, I think, for businesses and stuff like that, as far as being able to meet their rent and everything like that at this point, because I'm sure that has sunk an awful lot of businesses at this point. That's for sure, as far as any sort of brick and mortar sort of structure. So I mean, that's got to be a good thing at the very least. There's always going to be the other side of it, where people are going to say, well, where's all this money going to come from?
Right? Well, of course, it's got to come from somewhere. But at the end of the day, the cost of fixing things usually is much greater than the cost of preventing things. That just seems to be the way the world works,
Yeah. You know, one of the comments that really struck home with me in watching, you know, the inauguration today was just the fact that, you know, it was mentioned that, you know, 400,000 people have died in the U.S. That's not, of course, accounting for the you know, hundreds of thousands that have died worldwide as well, right? But they made a mention that that is around the same amount that was lost in World War II.
Yep.
You know, which you know, we're very, 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 very far removed from that as far as just within the period of history, right?
Right.
So, you know, I really have to wonder if the younger generation really felt any impact from that. Since, like, I know, even though I didn't grow up during that time, you know, I've always been very, very aware of it, though, and everything like that. Probably because of my German heritage more than anything. And
Yeah, that
you know,
has a lot to do with it for sure.
yeah, you know, and I remember when I went over to Germany too, you know, I went because I felt it was like a rite of passage for my heritage, and B, because, you know, I felt like if I didn't, you know, educate myself as far as what some of the horrors of the past were and stuff like that, that, you know, I was kind of doing myself a disservice, you know,
For
and,
sure.
you know, so anyways, we're getting a little bit off topic here and such as far as that's concerned, but, you know, I really hope that something like that does have an impact on the younger generations as far as that's concerned. We've never really seen a war that has taken that amount of lives or has lasted that long as far as on an international scale in you know 70 some odd years, luckily. So just that amount of loss alone is just it's staggering, you know.
Yeah,
And
and you know, and that's not even comparing to some of the suffering and losses of some other countries in World War I or II or whatever. You know, like America
absolutely,
never had any of its cities bombed flat. You know, they never had their civilian population attacked by bombing raids or by.
well, with one exception, obviously being Pearl Harbor,
Yeah, but that
right?
still
But
wasn't an attack on a civilian population. That was an attack on an occupied military base.
yes, yes,
Right.
but
So
still,
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like, no American civilian city has ever been bombed flat. You know, no American
yep,
citizen ever had to raise his family in the rubble of or aftermath of destruction. You
yeah,
know,
no,
aside from
absolutely.
maybe tornadoes or hurricanes or natural things, but I'm talking war here. You know,
Yeah, no,
they've
absolutely.
most other countries on the world have experienced that at some point or another in their history. The
Yeah, you're
U.S.
very right.
hasn't, you know, which is probably one of the reasons they're so willing to engage in military conflicts in other places, but not at home.
I've noticed that, that's actually one thing I didn't see much report on was, you know, what the ideology will be behind how Biden treats the military, right? As far as just whether it's going to be an increase in funds or a decrease, as far as not just funds, but just also, you know, having soldiers abroad and everything. Haven't seen much as far as the reports for that.
Well,
I don't know
I've
about
I've
yourself.
heard that he intends to reduce military spending, and I haven't heard anything in respect to bringing troops home or not. But considering that he has a son that is a fallen veteran, you know, I think
Yeah,
he has a strong and very empathetic relationship to the military. You know, he understands the sacrifices that military families make and that soldiers makes, and I think he'll treat the military with a lot more respect
oh,
than
definitely.
his predecessor. You know, so I think that relationship will definitely improve, you know, between the president and the troops.
And to go on that point too, I never felt, not that I followed the campaign very closely or anything like that, but I never really saw much mention of the, like, he kind of steered away from the whole family connection a little bit for the fact that, like, if it had been on the other side and it had been somebody more like Donald Trump, he would have probably politicized that for his own gain, you know. But I never felt that way about the way that Biden really did any of that. Maybe because it would have been a disservice to his own family member that had fallen, you know.
Well,
And if
that's
that's
what
the
I
case,
mean, you
then
know.
I have great respect for that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, I think we can expect him to treat the military with a certain amount of respect and take care of those people. You know,
Yeah. But isn't it just nice though that it feels like for the first time in a long time as well that finally like there's an adult in charge.
Yeah.
Like that, if he has a bad day, he's not going to take it out on everyone else.
And dude,
and affect the country as well when he does it.
A 20-minute speech, completely coherent, made complete sense, and he only stumbled over his words once, and that was a minor one,
Yeah.
But
no, I thought
it was a really, really good speech. Really well thought out. Really, he avoided blaming anybody or assigning any kind of blame. He really focused on creating unity and bringing everybody together to deal with the issues they have to deal with. So I thought that was really well said.
Well, I think he had to do that because if you're going to be finger pointing, that's not going to unify anyone.
Exactly. Right? No, that's what I mean. He's actually taking the right approach to doing what he set out to do.
Exactly. But like once again, having a mature person in charge, they realize that you can't do one thing and expect a group of people to do the other. Like this whole thing of do what I say, not what I do. And that's kind of what we had been in for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so just for the fact that like he never really mentioned Trump by name or anything like that, and the fact that he very easily could have finger pointed for a good portion of his speech and stuff like that. But no, he kept coming back to it doesn't matter where we've been. It doesn't matter where we're going.
Yeah, it's so nice to have somebody who's actually the bigger man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's
after 4 years of petty bickering, and self-grandizing, it's really nice and refreshing.
I really have to wonder, like, what the future is for the Republican Party, though, because, like, up until the riots at the Capitol Hill, they had talked about, Trump would still be very much involved, or might be the de facto leader still, and I think that has changed as far as that's concerned. There's been a lot of people in that party that have tried to distance themselves, and may very well be up to the task of trying to basically prove that they're not him, so that they can have a shot in the next election.
Well, right? Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the people that were sucking up to him for 4 years, now after the riots, suddenly are jumping ship, and are criticizing him. And it's like, I can't remember. I think it was Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon who said, "What, you want a bonus point now for doing something right after 4 years?" It's like. Yeah. For the first time, you're doing what you're supposed to, and then you want to get extra credit for it after fucking it up for 4 years?
You know what? One thing I will say, though, even though Trump did not attend the inauguration, which was no surprise, I was pleasantly surprised to see that Mike Pence was there.
Yeah.
And that, and that he applauded, he was supportive, he appeared to be very diplomatic, and, doesn't really matter what you think of him as a person or anything like that, but he saw he realized it as a greater message.
Well, yeah, I mean, he followed protocol and showed a basic amount of decorum.
And you know what? Like the respect that Biden and Harris didn't get from Trump is made up a little bit in the fact that it was such a heavily divided race to begin with, and the fact that Mike Pence put all that aside and was there for the inauguration, and I think he deserves a little bit of credit just for that.
I guess. I mean,
but
the fact that everybody is expected to normally attend, that is tradition, So that being said, it's to be expected that he's there. But given the special circumstances this time, it does deserve an honorable mention. Let's put it this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes Trump not being there look even more petty and small and.
No, I agree. I mean,
well, the thing is, and you know why? No, here's the thing. You know why I believe Trump didn't want to attend?
Because he'd have to actually physically admit in front of everybody that
No, it's really simple. Because then he wouldn't have got to leave in Air Force One. Then it wouldn't have been Air Force One anymore. He wanted to leave Washington with full presidential honors. That means flying on Marine One, doing a lap over the city on Marine One for the last time. then get on Air Force One, first do a little speech at the military base before he gets on Air Force One, and then fly to Florida and arrive on Air Force One in Florida as the president.
Yep. No,
Otherwise,
I
he would
agree
have taken civilian or chartered flights or have the military fly him down there, but it wouldn't have been on Air Force One.
But you know what? That's just part of his series finale, shall we say?
Exactly, because... and I really truly believe that was his motivation for leaving early and all that.
Yeah, you know? I would agree with you too. You know, I mean,
he didn't want to share the spotlight either. You know.
Oh God, no. You know, and yeah, you know, but that's why, like I said, it's so nice to see someone who is willing to put the needs of others ahead of their own. You know, and try and make a difference. You know, it's something that, you know, all democracies should be striving towards. And it seems like that had been forgotten for a really long time, at least in our circle of media sharks and stuff like that.
Speaking of our circles, you know, the first thing that I noticed and that bugged me through the entire inauguration ceremony is after every single speaker, somebody walked up and wiped off the lectern, but nobody swapped out the microphone socks. They're all spitting into the same freaking microphone socks the entire ceremony, everybody. But they kept wiping the podium while everybody walked up there was wearing gloves and reading off the teleprompter. There was nobody handling notes and stuff on the podium, on the lectern.
Yeah.
Right. No, so there was actually no real need to clean the lectern, but it would have been so easy just to swap out the mic socks after every speaker. And that would have been the smart thing to do.
I have to wonder if the media is going to pick up on that at all, because, I mean, you know, it very well could be made into a point of, you know, them not taking the restrictions more seriously.
Well, plus there was a lot of hugging going on, let's be honest.
There was. Yeah, there was.
But then again, I would think to myself, I'll bet you every single person that was there was tested, you know, tested negative, and probably was temperature tested before attendance as well.
I think you've got a little more faith in that than I do then, as far as that's concerned. One thing I will comment on, though, is it was very difficult to really see the social distancing and stuff like that from the camera angles, because I noticed at times, like, the crowd that was there at certain angles looked like they were really packed together, right?
But I know the crowd was properly spaced out. I was just talking about the VIPs up on the stage, you know, and I'm pretty sure they all were tested, you know.
Yeah, for the same thing, it was very difficult to tell, because at least for the crowd shot, you could see a bit more of an aerial shot, right? Whereas you couldn't see that as much as far as just on the stage.
Yeah, no, the rows were significantly spaced, so I don't think that was as much the issue. But like I said, there's a lot of hugging going on and that kind of stuff, you know. And
I did see this a little bit though too.
Right? Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of fist bumping and elbows and stuff going on, right? Especially on the entrance, like when people showed up.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see in the next couple of weeks whether that event just became another super spreader.
Yeah, that would be ironically sad, but yeah, it's possible.
Well, it's the reality we live in though now, right?
Very true.
And like, as much as I applaud the fact that he basically said, stay at home, you know, watch it on TV, watch it on whatever streaming service you have or anything like that. Don't come here. Like, how could that not be any more opposite than Mr. Look at me, you know, I had the biggest record-breaking crowds ever for my inauguration. Biden's like, fuck that. Stay at home, be safe.
Guess what? Biden also has a record-breaking crowd. He has the smallest inauguration crowd in modern times, and that is a good thing.
Well, yeah, you know, and it's funny because I actually work with a decorator that did some stuff for, they do all the inaugurations based out of Washington, D.C., and they said the same thing, that it was just, they worked so hard for so little, is basically what it was. And like, you know, even though they pulled it off and they did everything they had to do, they felt that the payoff was terrible. Everything was poorly communicated and everything like that, and we've heard that a lot about.
Yeah, you know, but overall, the news coverage was pretty good. You know what I mean? And I think that footage will go around for quite a while.
Well, you know, and I want to share something too. A friend of mine posted or whatever. You guys probably all know him as you know, Mr. Paul Cacamo, or Wally. he had this idea of basically just sending out some cards and stuff like that to people so that we could spread some positivity and put them on like people's front doors or windshields and stuff like that. Any little thing to kind of just leave like a positive note or anything like that, which I think is really, really sadly needed right now. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to Paul because I thought it was a fantastic idea. And it's
like
we
little
definitely
smiley
need a little
bumper
bit more
stickers.
What's that?
Like little smiley bumper stickers.
Yeah, little things that kind of say you're awesome,
Yeah.
and then you can write a little note on the back and stuff like that. But I mean, we need some more random acts of kindness.
Or maybe not so random. Maybe also very intentional acts of kindness as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially now. And that's why like it's been a bit disappointing to see from some people that I know that they're complaining about like, where are the vaccines? Where are the vaccines? Where are the vaccines? It's like, look, you were told multiple times that, frontline workers are getting the vaccines first.
Yeah.
And those that are highest at risk. And that, the expectation would be, and it still appears to be on track, that, everybody in Canada will be vaccinated by like the end of September-ish or something like that. So it's like, so why, like, that's why when I see this, it's like, look, like, I understand that you're frustrated and that certain things are shut down and stuff like that, but there's a lot more going on there than I think that you realize as far as distribution of something like this.
Yeah, but I think, it's people just getting excited after the news of it actually started rolling out. It's kind of like when you have to pee really bad, and then just because then when you see the washroom, that's when you pee your pants. Just because that gives you that extra urgency that pushes it over the edge.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's the same way with that kind of thing. It's like, okay, now that they're rolling out, now everybody wants one as fast as possible.
Well, and there was some news about that as well, that apparently, I can't remember where it was, but some people were using convention centers and stuff like that, or basically meeting spaces to try and bring people in to get vaccinated and stuff like that. Which I thought was a pretty cool idea because let's face it, a lot of those places are empty at the moment. I'm sure there's probably a lot of protocols around that too, just to make sure that you're not past your limits and stuff like that as far as the capacity of the amount of people in a building. But just leaving it to say for Shoppers Drug Mart to do it or anything like that, as far like just kind of like getting a regular flu shot. Well, I don't know about that. There's a lot of unknown quantities and qualities of this that we really have to take into account, and I don't know that other than a medical professional, not a pharmacist, if I really want anyone else giving me a shot of that nature.
Well, the thing is, it's not as much about administering the shot because any nurse can do that. Every first year medical student can give you a shot. From just the physical process of doing that. So that's not what I'm worried about. The thing that's important at this point is data acquisition, registering to make sure who's been vaccinated and when and by who and with what dosage, that kind of stuff. That infrastructure is a little harder to manage, and I do agree. But I do think like having pharmacies and stuff, people that are used to administering flu shots and distributing those, including them in the distribution system, because our healthcare system is so overloaded with COVID patients anyways. You want to take as much of the vaccination workload off their hands to free them up to take care of the sick people.
I think you hit it right on the head, though, as far as keeping track, as far as that's concerned, because when you put other entities in that work as far as to do some of the work for you, as much as it's about getting to that goal, there's other things that can happen as well, like line cutting or bribery or anything like that to be able to get your vaccination earlier than expected. All these types of things. And
but I mean, there is ways to work around it. You can create systems, with barcodes and ID that basically, you get your barcode sent to your mail at home, whatever, and then you take it to your local drugstore. They match it, they scan that and match it with the scan of the vial they have there that they inject you with. and that goes straight into the computer, then your ID, your basically your qualification barcode, and the batch vial barcode are all scanned into the computer, straight to a database. Done. Bob's your uncle. So
yeah, whether they have that infrastructure set up to do it on a larger scale than they're doing it right now, I think is probably the bigger question.
Well, honestly, it's not that big a deal. Barcode scanners are a dime a dozen. That kind of a software application is easy enough to write. It's just a database input mask, essentially.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of things to consider, and I think just patience is just a key right now. Hey, we all want to get vaccinated, and we all want to get back to doing what we love doing. But yeah, certainly exercising some patience right now would certainly help. Yeah, it came out in almost the beginning of December, but to think that when you're not a frontline worker that you should be vaccinated already, I think that's a little
yeah,
a little much.
Yeah, that is a little. I mean, yeah, we all want to be vaccinated as soon as possible, but obviously, yeah, like you said, we have to be patient and make sure the right people that need it first, that are most at risk and most exposed, they need to be covered first.
Yeah, and I think there was some discussion as well about professional athletic teams and stuff like that being vaccinated or getting like possible preferential treatment for that. And to that, I say no.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I can see the
maker and stuff.
I can understand where they're coming from in the case they're trying to make. And while they do have a few valid points, but overall, no, I totally agree with you. It's like
they are not the ones that are highest at risk.
No, I mean they're at higher risk because they're at international meetings, and you could consider them a kind of ambassadors for the country, kind of thing, if you really wanted to stretch it. So I get that, and I get that they have a higher need for a vaccine than your average Joe Blow. That's granted, fair enough. But their importance for the their importance to survival of society is not nearly as important as doctors, lawyers, firemen, nurses, and grocery salespeople. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And just because they make more money than a lot of other people, it doesn't necessarily mean that they get that they should be prioritized.
Exactly. Honestly, the friggin' Amazon drivers are more important than professional athletes right now. They should be qualified essential workers long before any athlete does.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that that you bring up a really good point. Like any delivery driver. Or
pizza delivery driver. Postmen, mail carriers.
Yeah.
Courier drivers, truck drivers.
For me, I would also put in food handlers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, look at the amount of meatpacking plants and stuff like that had outbreaks of COVID.
Yeah.
Throughout Canada and the U.S. and had to shut down production. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I would want not that there's been a lot of proven fact that it'd be transmitted through food or anything like that, but still.
No, but even just an outbreak at a factory shuts down the food supply.
Exactly.
It doesn't even have to be the transmission of disease. It could just be interrupting the supply chain. And we need that freaking food.
That's why I think they are more essential, as far as that's concerned.
Actually, I would say, athletes are about as unessential as we are to society right now. And there's a point that we could be made that we're more essential.
I don't know. I know that I'm glad I'm not the one that's in charge of creating the hierarchy of that. That's all I gotta say.
That is true. That always reminds me of the Douglas Adams story with the 3 arcs, where they remember that where they sent off where they had one arc with all the doctors and philosophers and scientists, and one that had all the what was it the lawyers and the hairdressers and telephone disinfection people, and the 3rd arc had all the construction workers, laborers, farmers, that kind of hand laborers.
And by Adam, you meant Noah, right?
No, Douglas Adams.
Oh, Douglas Adams. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a
No,
second.
and
Like,
yeah, and basically, and it's a sci-fi story, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say
then
because
basically
I'm like, I know the Bible a little bit.
the guys on the second arc, they land on a planet, right? And they're all like telephone disinfectant people, administrators, hairdressers, stylists. They don't have a clue, so they're waiting for the other two arcs to show up. Funny thing is, the other two arcs never launched. They just wanted to get rid of all that undesirable part of their population, right? So the whole thing was a ruse. Now, the ironic twist of fate in the story is that humanity dies out from a virus spread from dirty telephones. Because they didn't have any more telephone disinfectors, humanity died out, right? Because they deemed them as irrelevant.
It's funny how fiction can become
right?
bit more fact-based over time.
I've been thinking about that story since the beginning of the pandemic, since the discussion of who's essential worker and who's not kind of came up. That story always pops into my mind, the story of the B arc.
Yeah.
I'll have to reread that again.
I'm really going to be interested, like in a few years' time when we kind of look back on this period to see, what was the talk of the day and stuff like that. Not just about the virus itself, but just all the other things that kind of came out either about the virus or just things that we caught up on or saw while we were in lockdown or anything like that. There's certain things that, kind of stick out in my mind as far as that's concerned. In some ways, I
don't envy those parents that in 10, 15 years have to explain to their kids, what the fuck were you guys thinking back then,
Yeah. I think we've learned a lot of crucial lessons, though. Just compassion and communication. I think those have been undervalued, I think, for a while. And that and just having a clear message. But yeah, especially compassion, I would have to say, as far as for the situations that everybody is in. And oh man, it just goes, it really affects all of us, when you really look at it. And just being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, even if it's only just for a few seconds, to try and get that perspective.
Well, that's the thing, right? The more perspectives you can make your own, the more complete your view or your perception of any given thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's that old coin flip thing. If I hold up a coin, and I can ask you, what do you see? You say heads, and I say no, because I see tails. Right? And we can argue all day long. We're both absolutely right in our argument. And until we trade sides or take each other's viewpoint, we'll get no place. But as soon as I turn that coin around, we'll both go, oh, wait a second. You're right as well. We can both be right. But, until we change our perspective or add the other person's perspective to our own, well, we would never know.
I can say one thing, and that is that throughout this pandemic, I've learned more about myself in the past 10 or so of some odd months than I have in 45 years.
Yep.
And
I can second that.
The good and the bad, and the parts you don't want to look at that you're forced to look at, but I really think that in some ways we're going to come out of this even better, and hopefully with a little bit more understanding. That's what I hope anyways. I just hope that the lessons that we've learned and that we've gone through won't be just so easily forgotten when everybody's
the thing
trying
is,
to get back to normal.
The thing is, we can't forget it's not over. But 2020 might be over, and the Trump era might be over. The pandemic doesn't give a shit about either of those things. You know what I mean?
Doesn't give a shit about time at all. And and there's
I think
variants that are coming out too.
It's way too early to start getting into like the retrospective mindset.
Oh no, we got a long ways to go. I mean, and we've talked about this before, just the whole fatigue factor, and we're going to see a lot more of it. There's no doubt about that, despite encouraging signs that we've seen. But the fatigue part of it is still very real for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not going to get, people are going to have to be reminded of that too, as others get vaccinated and stuff like that. That remember, just because you have doesn't mean that everybody has. So
yep. And just because you got vaccinated doesn't mean you can't transmit the virus to anybody else either.
Yeah.
You can still carry it and pass it on. You just can't get sick.
Very true.
Well, actually, technically, you do get very mildly sick until you build up an immunity. That's how a vaccine works.
Yeah. As far as and that's
technically speaking, about too, right?
As far as the herd immunity effect that will need to eventually happen. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Canada has performed as far as this pandemic in comparison to a lot of other countries.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it once we get through it. Oh, now we just lost him again. Let's see how long it takes him to get back. That is so weird. Today, our Discord is glitching a bit. Not sure why. But we'll see when he gets back. I can hear you again. Yep. I don't... your video's coming back as well.
Yeah, Discord decided to do stupid, so whatever.
Yeah.
But, just kind of quit on me. So yeah, look at that green screen. Woo!
Yeah, I'm here though.
I'm doing almost like I'm queuing lower thirds or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that is. It's a plugin that's glitching. I don't know if there was an update that I didn't realize on OBS or something like that. Well, maybe I just got to restart my computer. It's been running for a couple of days straight, rendering a whole bunch of stuff. So could be something.
Yeah, there's that too. Like I think I mentioned before, the last version of OBS that got an update, we had to revert back, whatever, because it kept crashing and stuff like that. So I don't know if they've come up with a fix for it since, but we've skipped that version because it kept giving us too many problems.
Well,
but
I'm running 26.1.1 is what I'm running right now.
Yeah, well,
and it's been running really stable. The only thing is every time I shut it down, when I shut it down, then it crashes.
Yeah, that's a typical thing for OBS.
Yeah, but that doesn't really bother me because when I shut it down, I'm done with it anyway, so I don't care if it crashes.
Yeah,
so that's
sometimes
a minor.
You just have to sometimes you have to do a complete computer restart too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, but I've had that before too, where like the audio cuts out and everything else is fine, and then you close OBS, you relaunch it, and then the audio is basically intact again. So I don't know, I don't have the brain power to realize everything that happens with those pieces of software. You probably have a lot more insight onto that than I do. That's for sure.
Yeah, usually it's Windows drivers related. That some driver is released or releases a device and then try to grab it again but can't, or
well, whatever the case.
Yeah. It's just that's just a side effect, of the PC platform having to be able to work on so many different types of hardware and configurations and stuff. There's always bound to be certain combinations of hardware and software and circumstances that cause a little issues.
Yeah.
Because people always forget, when they compare Windows to Apple's, is Apple's are computers made by one company. And you're comparing them to an entire genre of computers made by Dell, Lenovo, HP, Yumi, whoever, built their own computer.
The list goes on. Yeah.
So you can't compare that. You can say, okay, compare Apple to Dell, sure, or Apple to IBM or Lenovo. That you can do. Right? But any other comparison is going to be unfair. Or, because there's always going to be a PC that's going to outperform the Mac, and there's always going to be a PC that'll be outperformed by the Mac.
No, that's very true, and it's interesting because we're using so many different software platforms for our meetings now and stuff like that, as far as some of the pros and cons with some of them. And I've certainly heard a lot about this recently, since my wife is teaching at home and using Google Meet and Google Classroom. And there's been quite a few problems with it. And I've heard this from a lot of other teachers too, and just parents of kids as well, that it's been very glitchy or slow at times, and apparently, I don't even know if it is possible for that service to be a paid service. I was always under the impression that it was always just free. So I don't know.
Which one, Google Classrooms?
Yeah.
I've never used Google Classroom, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the majority of the Google Suite is free, and so
Yeah, but
you
there is
like
also a paid commercial subscription that has added functionality.
it should. Yeah, it's just like, if you need extra space on Google Drive, you
Yeah,
can pay
exactly.
for
There's
it,
like,
right?
yeah, the standard Google G Suite or Gmail Suite or whatever you want to call it is free, but there
Yeah.
is a subscription service professional account kind of thing that does a
Oh,
lot more.
one of the things I just want to mention is that, one of the a lot of people are under the assumption that just because the government said that teachers got training on all these online platforms and stuff like that doesn't mean it's true. Because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that never happened.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
and
surprised. I mean, I'm pretty sure somebody in a meeting in some government office said, "Hey, we can't forget to train the people on all this new software. We got to do something." And somebody says, "Yeah, we should do that," and that was the end of that.
yeah, and if they actually followed through with it, then great. But that is not the case. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of struggles around the online schooling system right now. And another one, just to bring up that, uh, man, just some people just do not respect, the idea of, even if it's virtual, that people still need their own time and space. So, people like teachers being contacted by students at like 8 o'clock at night when the school day is over and everything like that, and saying like, "Can you please call me?" I'm sorry, we would never do that, when we were in school
Yeah.
physically. So why do you think that now that things have changed, that has changed? Like, they just, oh, what, you're a teacher, you have no life, so of course you have to call me. Like,
No,
when did
I
the
think
parent
it's
when
more. I think it has more to do with that online communication and telephone communications operate on a different level than a physical interaction where you go to somebody's place, so to speak. Because
Sure.
the classroom is the teacher's room. He or she is in control of that space. They're the king there. You know what I mean? And in an online learning environment, you're only interacting with them remotely. So the hurdle of that interaction, is lower.
Sure, but let's respect the fact though that, like, say we go and we do like an 18-hour shift or something like that somewhere. The last thing we want to do is have to take a meeting with, say, the
No,
bank
I hear you, and
or anything like that. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, as far as that's concerned, like
I
there's a
agree
reason
with
why
you.
we book.
I was just saying that's why it plays out that way. But I totally agree with you. The teacher deserve their end of day. Their Feierabend, as they call it in Germany, which
Yeah, absolutely.
translates literally into celebration evening. It's basically the evening when you get to celebrate that it's the evening, your day's work is done.
Yeah.
And now you have the evening to celebrate whatever you want to celebrate, right?
Yeah. And I know a lot of teachers out there have had issues too with kids and parents saying, "Oh, yeah, they're submitting their work," and they're actually not, and that's been a bit of an issue too. But
Yeah.
man, there's just so many things on top of that, as far as whether kids have access to their devices and stuff like that at the proper times, and
Yeah, I'm sure
how
there's
many
a
how many
lot of
MP.
logistical issues, and especially since
Oh
it's
yeah.
still a fairly new kind of way of doing things. There's still for a lot of people a long learning curve.
Well,
Another
I
five
know.
years down the road, this will be so normal, that any kindergarten kid knows how to do a Zoom call or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's very true, and let's not like lose sight of the fact that online schooling and stuff like that hasn't even been able to happen at all. And we've been able to continue with the studies and progression of education
Yeah,
in any form whatsoever should not be discounted. Okay,
exactly. I
like
was going
not
to
at all,
say, and all the
right?
more respect, to the teachers because they're braving these tough conditions. These almost impossible conditions where you're trying to juggle basically three different things, that are completely counterindicative, and you're still trying to do the best for the kids.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that must be really really tough, and not losing your nerve in all of this, and staying calm, and
And
not
there's
having any really possibility to counteract it with leisure time activity, because you can't let off steam, go into a dance club, and dance your frustrations off, or go, into the movies, watch a movie to calm down or to relax, or just hang out with your friends at the bowling alley, to kind of wind down.
Well, here's another factor too with that is that with this whole online education and such, parents are now have been allowed to basically join the classrooms as well. And that, believe it or not, is another added piece of pressure on teachers.
Oh, I can imagine. And on students.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
God, no. If I imagine my parents if I imagine my parents sitting in the classroom on any given day, like back in my day, that I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't learn anything.
Exactly. I think it's distracting for everybody, even if they're not even participating.
Yeah, no, just running around in the background, right?
It doesn't allow the kids to be kids and the teacher to do what they need to do. And let's face it, some of the way that teachers get through to their kids is their connection to them.
Yeah, no, so undoubtedly. And the parents would interfere. They completely would interfere with that connection. I totally get it. Makes total sense. The problem is,
that's my rant.
The problem is not every family, has a situation where the kid could have its own closed off room to do its online schooling in,
That's yes. And I mean, I think
a lot of times, you got like one family computer or something, where the kid has to sit in the kitchen at the computer or whatever.
Well, that's something that the boards have actually done a pretty good job of, is getting more devices out into the hands of other students. Now, that being said, doesn't mean that they're automatically upgrading their internet service or anything like that. But within households where there is more than one student, yes, they've been able to help out those families that do not have those devices available, to be able to get them into their hands so that they can try and at least attempt.
Yeah, but that still doesn't mean that kid is gonna, not have to sit in the kitchen on the kitchen table, with his mom cooking behind him and his little sister running around.
Yep. So like you're right about that.
And what the kid would need is his own room, where he's not distracted, where he's not watched by his parents either, where he's just him and his teacher and his classmates.
It's just not a reality for everybody.
I know, that's the sad thing, right? If it was, things would be a lot easier, but not everybody's in that position.
No, absolutely. And especially those that are in lower income, housing, especially, so a lot of challenges, but I don't know. I just want to say that, if my wife does end up watching this, that you have my utmost respect, and love you, and I can't believe that you've been surviving the way that you have ever since March of last year.
Well, I tip my hat to all the teachers as well.
Yeah, and same goes like we had talked about too about the frontline workers. Whether that means you're in a hospital, you're in a grocery store, you're a delivery driver, or anything like that. You guys are the people that have basically kept our societies running and made it a lot easier for the rest of us, that even though maybe we want to be back working and everything like that, sometimes that's the one thing that we have to look forward in a day, is knowing that
there's one other thing I want to bring up here while we're talking about teachers, and this brings us back to where we were earlier. A lot of the problems that I've been observing in the political landscape, especially down south over the last couple of years, can clearly be traced back to a lack of education and, of deficits in their education. A lot of these people clearly were so easily radicalized because they were so poorly educated, because they weren't able to tell the difference between actual facts and fiction, who they didn't understand the basic principle of the scientific principle, how that works, how math works, how basic science and logic works. They don't have that. They never learned that properly in school, and that's why they were easily led to believe falsehoods.
Let's also talk about just the image, though, that came from the administration. So when you have somebody like Donald Trump, who inherited his wealth and basically was able to do pretty much whatever he wanted, that also sends a message out to the younger generation in ways saying that, do I really need to work to what I get? because it wouldn't be a problem if I was just rich.
Well, I mean, that's the whole American society, and to some extent ours, unfortunately, as well. Is this idolization of celebrity?
Yes, yes.
People get idolized and revered just because they're rich, not because they're super talented. Like that, I can even get. Like that people revere athletes or artists. That stand out beyond the average. I get that, but there's a culture where people just are celebrated just for the sake of having the most money. It's not about how they achieved that. It's like my bitch is my hose, my money, like that kind of attitude. It's like all about status symbols. It's all about appearance and not about actual being.
Yeah, and to that point as well, when we see a lot of celebrities that are politically motivated and will say different things and such. It doesn't matter whether that means you're an athlete, an actor, or whatever the case. But at some times I'm just like, oh, where'd you get your poli sci degree from again? And by the way, since you're already rich, how is this a reality for you? Since you can pretty much buy your way out of almost anything.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I have to say there is something to be said if a celebrity uses the platform they have for a good cause.
Absolutely.
That is something I very much appreciate. And even if they're, like you said, no experts on the subject matter, you don't have to be an expert on the subject matter by doing a lot of good, by help supporting, I don't know, reducing deforestation in the Amazon, for example, or for feeding homeless children,
Absolutely. I'm not saying give up charitable work. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
what I am saying though is that basically don't try to be the voice of what you think of your generation when you don't really have
no, you can't speak for those people for sure.
No, but as far as doing well with like trying to share some of your your fortunate situation with others and to try and bring awareness to situations, yes, because you know what, we do need that, and it seems to me anyways that I see that more with those in the entertainment community than I do more within the athletic community.
Well, now, why I think that is? Because it's a more of an intellectual kind of thing. It's more, the let's call them artistic community in general are more focused on mental and let's say on thinking skills, while athletes in general are more focused on physical, tangible things.
Well, one of the things that I think has been good is that professional athletic organizations, no matter what team or what sport or anything like that, has more taken up the mantle of that as far as telling their team, look, we're going to use your celebrity to be able to do some good things here in our community, right? So more at a grassroots level as far as that's concerned.
Right.
So you will see, like, say, the Toronto Maple Leafs go out to Sick Kids Hospital to pay visits and stuff like that, or volunteer at a soup kitchen, or any of those types of things,
right,
for charitable causes. But they do it as a team versus individually, as more so.
And on some level, it's a publicity stunt as well.
True, but that doesn't mean that.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't do any good in the process. It doesn't send out good signals. I agree.
And then there's some that are just the exception to the rule. That, like, one that I think of that seems to be a very, very charitable person is PK Subban, who's been a defenseman in the NHL for at least over 10 years now, I would say, and he's done a lot of charitable work with all the teams that he's been associated with, and it's really nice to see someone kind of stand up for that. And one of the stories I remember from when hockey was kind of doing their hubs too was that somebody from a team saw the amount of homeless people around Rogers Arena in Edmonton and decided to basically call up a pizza place and basically make it that everybody that was on the street that day or night got fed, and sure, okay, it's one day, that it's not a lifetime commitment or anything like that, but that's not to say that it's not a nice gesture,
right?
And yet once again, that's hey, I have the means, I can do this. I want to show my appreciation, and maybe we need to start seeing more of that.
Yep, that is true. I mean, generally, it never hurts to show a little appreciation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's always a good idea.
I want to really see what's going to happen. I really hope that when we come out of this, that we have a better mindset as far as what we will do with trying to combat the issue of affordable housing and homelessness. Throughout Canada, especially.
Yeah, I think people there is an increased awareness of what's really necessary for life. You know what's essential and what isn't. You
Yep.
know, and
Yep.
who are really important people that have been overlooked. You know, who are important to society's survival. Who are like the people we were mentioning earlier. You know, the cashier at the grocery store, the delivery guy. You know, that's bringing people their food and stuff. Those people, that have generally been overlooked as the masses, so to speak. You know, and they turn out, to be essential to the survival of society.
Not only that, but let's look at it from another angle here in the fact that those positions are one of the few that still makes it feel like we have something of our old lives to cling to. The weekly run to the grocery store, or getting a pizza delivered, or getting a package delivered, or anything like that, that hasn't changed.
It's just
Really, it's been
increased.
it's been
It's
yeah,
just
it's
increased
ramped up
radically.
as far as, yeah, it's increased, but the process of it hasn't changed, right?
True.
As far as it still comes to your door, or you still go to the grocery store and have a cashier help you out, or you ask the stock boy, hey, where can I find the craft dinner, or something like that.
Yeah, well, I
Like,
mean,
there's all
it
those
did change a
things.
little bit. Even the grocery store, you got to follow your things on the floor. You got to have your mask on.
Sure.
A lot of stores, you got to
Sure.
disinfect your hands before you go in. And all that.
But that's more about procedure, that's not about
Yeah,
people.
but I mean, the basic principle, you're absolutely right, has remained, even though there has been some minor, adjustments and modifications. But the basic principle, yeah, you leave the house, go to the store, buy your stuff, and come home, hasn't changed. You're absolutely right.
you know
Even
and
though we're doing a lot less of that and a lot more of the online shopping.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a huge advent for online shopping, that's for
The
sure.
question is, and
And
this is going to be interesting to see, once the pandemic is over, will the online shopping of groceries stay where it is now, or will it, fall back to more in store shopping? Because groceries are still some people like to pick by hand, look before you buy.
yeah, no, yeah, that's a tough habit to break, I would
Yeah,
say.
so I
And
think I think more than any other, because there's a lot of stuff that the brick and mortar stores are not going to bounce back to where they were before, because people realize, hey, I don't need to go to the store. This is just fine doing this online thing. And then there'll be types of business, like groceries, that I think will bounce a lot closer back to where they were before with brick and mortar stores, because it's just some people prefer to touch, to pick and choose. I'll take this tomato. I want to feel it before I buy it. You
yeah,
know?
no, I would, yeah, I agree with you on that. The other thing to remember too is that even though we have some of these tools now to be able to do things online and order things online, there's still a significant community out there of senior citizens that are not tech savvy enough to be able to
Yeah.
navigate through these types of situations, that rely on going to physical locations to be able to do some of these things.
Yeah.
And that's there's a lot of groups that could be easily forgotten here. Let's just put it that way. You know, yeah. I guess that's all I'm really going to say about that.
I just had a business idea. Once this pandemic is over, I'm going to start a service where you go door to door and help old people or buy stuff online. Like the
I
Amazon
had
is the in-house Amazon assistant. You bring their laptop, you go to their place. That you can guide them through shopping online. Show them what the options they got, whatever.
I had
Basically,
an idea like that similarly during the pandemic, actually. And if it wasn't for the fact that we can't really go to old age homes and stuff like that because of the virus, I would have seriously considered it. Just the idea of being just a tech assistant of
Yeah,
sorts,
exactly, right.
to whether it's Amazon or booking travel
Yeah,
for
exactly. It
yourself
doesn't
or
matter.
anything
Just a
like that.
general, internet
Yeah.
assistant to less computer savvy people.
Yep.
I think that's a
Yep.
service that is desperately necessary, like you said, especially for the older part of the population or those
Yeah.
who have
Absolutely.
otherwise issues with figuring out tech. Not everybody is tech savvy by nature. It's
No, it's a good thing to remember too. And I've seen this with a lot of clients that I've dealt with recently, and that they are now just having their first ever, virtual meeting. And that's surprising, but we've almost been doing this for a year now, but it's still happening as far as that's concerned. And you know, just to kind of reassure them, it's like, just because we do this every day now doesn't mean that you guys do. So don't feel that you can't ask the questions that you want to ask,
yeah.
and that you feel that you'll be judged or anything like that, because we had to go through the exact same thing
I
so that
mean,
we
you
could
will
tell you
be
months from
judged,
now
but we
what we're
won't
yeah.
tell you.
Well, yeah, but now we went through the exact same thing in
Yeah, of
some
course.
sorts, so that we could actually inform you of what needs to be done. So yeah, I mean, it's always important to remember that, anyways. Even when we were doing live events, the fact that we do how many hundreds of live events a year, doesn't mean that everybody gets up on a stage and speaks, you know, every other month or anything like that, or is a
Yeah.
professional speaker or knows what they're doing. You
Hey, I
know.
have another business idea. How about we set up a website with a virtual stage, like created in Unreal or something,
Mhm.
that somebody can log in through the network with their Grand MA and play with the virtual lighting rig from home, so they can feel like they can program a show and run the show from their home.
I think that'd be a very niche market, but I
Yeah,
like the
but it'd be
idea.
fun. Have like
But
the
yeah.
live show simulator game.
Yeah, well,
And depending on what role you play, you have to plug in with the proper controller. Like if you want to be lighting guy, well, yeah, you can pick. You want to go DMX or ArtNet. You plug that into
yeah.
your laptop, then feed that in. Oh, you're a video guy. Well, here's two SDI inputs. Feed and here's the switch input for the camera switcher. Okay, go.
Well, one thing that a friend of mine posted on Facebook recently was that there is a concert that he wants to go to that I guess is being advertised out of Vegas. And it is basically, I think, happening. It's like a festival kind of thing that's happening in one of the casinos or something like that. I think it is like maybe August or September or something like that. And
Okay.
just the fact that that they've already starting to kind of advertise for it, it's like, oh, that's kind of nice to see again. You know, I don't know. We've touched on this before, but it will be interesting to see what the requirements are to be able to go and see something like that live until everybody's vaccinated and such. Like whether you're going to actually have to have some sort of proof. You know.
Yeah, that's that. And the other thing is, I wonder if like once they start back with shows, if there'll be another backlash. If there'll be like a euphoric starting phase for a few weeks or months,
Oh
and
yeah.
then suddenly there'll be another outbreak, and one of the events turns out to have been a super spreader of a new strain that ignores the I don't know, the vaccines or whatever.
Yeah.
Something stupid like that.
I don't know. I know that experiment was done in Germany, where they had volunteers that were at that concert and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but they were
I was kind
basically
of
focusing on the physical tracing of contact, and they basically
it was
what was it, like
disappointing to see that
80% of the people had physically come in contact with that phosphorus paint on the hands of those 2 or 3 trial people. So
I have to say it was a bit disappointing that didn't get a little bit more media traction. You
well,
know?
it did in Europe, but
Yeah, but I meant in North America.
yeah, I saw
It
I
would have
saw
been.
several articles about it in German press and German industry related press.
If it wasn't for the fact that we're in the industry that we're in, though, I wouldn't have searched for it. I don't think, or I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought to search for it. I wouldn't have even. I may not have even have known about it. So that kind of says something. It's that there was just so many other things probably going on at the same time that it was not as newsworthy, I guess, here in North America.
Yeah, it got drowned out by a lot of other stuff. That's for sure.
Oh, man, when we look back at this at 2020 and just everything that's happened, and man, whew, it's a lot to take in. That's for sure. And
yep.
I don't know. Even though 2021 is still a lot like last year. Well, we just keep trucking until we can.
You know what I've been saying? Remember that Mayan that said 2012 was going to be the end?
Yeah.
He was actually dyslexic. It was 2021.
Nice.
So until this year's over, I'm not going to relax too much, even though I am slightly optimistic.
And then we get back to education and dyslexia. Anyways.
Well, no, dyslexia is not really an educational thing, because that's actually a medical problem, right? So that's not a lack of education.
No, I never said it was a lack of education.
Oh, okay. No, but yeah, you're right. It can with special education can be overcome to some extent, from what I understand.
Yep. And with that, Chris, I actually have to get going because I got an early morning. So
what time is it anyway?
It's
9 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit past 9 o'clock. Yeah, it's a few minutes after. But yeah, I gotta be up at the crack of dawn again. So
nice. What are you doing? Got a show or what?
Oh, recording sessions for people that are not in my time zone, shall we say?
Right. Well,
so, yeah.
I'll probably be up at the crack of dawn too, walking the dog, and then playing around with some more Unreal, trying to figure some stuff out.
Well, good luck to you, and have fun with that.
I intend to.
I look forward to finally seeing the final product of that.
Well, it's not going to be a final product. It's just going to be more of a workflow and concept, and that I can apply to a couple of projects. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, cool, man.
Right now, we're still far into the R&D stage, or early in the R&D stage. But yeah, well, the possibilities are endless.
Good things are coming our way. That's for sure.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay, and on that note, I would say I'll play the intro video, and we'll sign off, and
all right.
Remind everybody to subscribe and like and all that, because we need subscriptions. We need subscribers. We need people to watch. We need people on our Discord servers to help us build a community. And yeah, let us know if you have any ideas or want to do anything on this channel, or have anything that you want us to talk about. Drop us a line, leave a note in the comment. And on that note, I'm Chris Mills, and I'm saying goodbye. Steve, it's been a pleasure, everyone. As always. Take care, folks. Stay frosty and live your best life.